Welcome to the predictions for Wrestlepalooza, which is taking place this Saturday. And I don't expect this one to be a long one because there's actually only 5 matches on the card. As of this recording, we've still got this week's SmackDown to air, so that could change. Before we get into the video itself, welcome to the channel. My name is Shah. On this channel, you'll find everything to do with WWE. It's just a fun place where I talk about my thoughts on the current product, where I rank certain things, and it gives you guys a chance to get involved as well. So welcome. Now, with all the formalities out the way, let's get stuck into the video itself. Now, we're going to start things off with the women's side of things, specifically the World Heavyweight Championship, which is vacant due to a new bloodline member being formed by Jimmy Uso and Naomi. Of course, congratulations to them both. So we've got Stephanie Vaquer versus Io Sky. Now, this match itself, as we know, hasn't had much of a build, which is understandable. It's not one of those situations where it's like the WWE is being lazy. I'm looking at you, Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. I actually understand the situation, and I covered it in my most recent video. If you haven't watched that, I would appreciate you guys giving that video a bit of love as well, as I am starting out on YouTube, and I would love you guys to be a part of the journey. And so given the circumstances around this match, the actual title itself becoming vacant, there hasn't been a massive need or that much time really to formulate something that feels heated or personal. Now in the WWE, we don't necessarily always need heated feuds or feuds that feel personal. Sometimes just the sportsmanship can work. And I think the WWE are in a bit of a fortunate position with Stephanie and Io in that, yes, they have the excuse, the justification. Because of the title going vacant, they don't have to build, or the WWE Universe doesn't expect a massive build for this matchup. However, because of the earlier showdowns this year, where of course Stephanie was holding a championship from NXT, and she was facing Io, who I believe at the time was World Heavyweight Champion, they had this sort of match as well on Raw, and leading into a PLE as well, where it was very much on who the better woman was. It wasn't sort of personal. It was sort of two baby faces that are top of their game, in their prime. The crowd loved them. They're amazing in ring, going at it. And I think this conclusive element to, like, I can't really say a feud, but that temporary saga, because I know they're going to have a saga down the line again, it's going to open up. But this current chapter we're talking about, this is a really nice way to conclude this sportsmanship between the two, where they're just going to go battle it out and see who the best woman is now officially for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, you guys already know what it is. It's going to be a top tier match. We've got two of the best ladies doing what they do. They're loved by the fans, so the fans are going to be all up over this. And who doesn't love seeing Stephanie on their TV screen? You know, she's great in the ring as well, but yeah, she's great in the eyes. Arguably, could be the best match on the card in terms of in-ring. When it comes to who wins and who takes the World Heavyweight Championship, I'm definitely leaning more towards Stephanie. I know the argument could be made that, you know, she's not been on the main roster that long. However, let's not get into the whole rabbit hole that we've been in the past. I'm looking at LA Knight's push, not pulling the trigger on him, not pulling the trigger on Austin Theory, turning on Grayson Waller in time. Now it's just sort of drifted out the equation. When it's hot, when the iron is hot, strike. I butchered that. You know what I mean. When it's whatever, just get it done, man. So I think with this one, it makes sense to give it to Stephanie, and I know that girl has been putting in work on her English in terms of developing and improving her English language skills. Massive respect goes out to her for that. She was recently on the Chris Van Vliet podcast as well, and it was super enjoyable watch. Stephanie just comes across as very likable, and I know a lot of us dudes also like her, not just because she's likable, but like I said, she's very easy on the eyes, but she just comes across very genuine. And now that she's able to cut promos even better, we know how good she is in the ring, her entrance, her aura, her connection with the fans. It is the time to pull the plug on this woman. Like, it is time now. And given how strong of a year Io Sky's had, you know, with the World Heavyweight Championship, the focus is, you know, recent WrestleManias and stuff like that as well. Like, she's built up to where she needs to be. She's one of the top main eventers within the women's division. She can eat a loss. She can eat a pin. And I think now it's time to go all in on La Primera, on Stephanie Vaquer. Next up, we're going to move over to the tag team side of things, and not just the mixed tag team right now. We're going to get to that in a second. We're going to go over to the Usos versus the Bron Brons. Now, I'll be honest with you, this matchup, if this was like a couple of months ago, I would have been like, okay, this is a decent Raw match. Like, it could main event Raw. It's on Wrestlepalooza, which is obviously a massive deal right now. The sort of horsepower they're putting behind this PLE. I know Triple H did mention on Pat McAfee's show, it was about a week ago, so like this could turn into a yearly thing. But let's be honest, in terms of whether they change the name or not, this sort of slot or this sort of PLE that they've used is going to be massive because it's like the first time they're coming in to ESPN. So having said that, the Usos versus the Bron Brons, I'm a bit like, you know, but, ladies and gentlemen, context is everything. Context is king. Context is key. What I mean by that is, what have we done with the storytelling? I think some of the best storytelling on Raw, outside of the mixed tag team side of things, has been this program with the Usos. How they've sort of developed this midlife crisis or conflict that Jey Uso is having within himself, his narcissism taking over. Similar traits to what OG Roman Reigns had, whilst he was the head of the table during the 4-year sprint he had. All this breakdown, and now we know we're going to have some further breakdown in the match between, the Usos and Bron Brons. Specifically, I'm talking about between Jey Uso and his twin brother Jimmy Uso. Communication is going to break down. There's going to be a level of, hey, look, who are you talking to? Who are you trying to control? We had this foreshadowed on Raw as well. Of course, having LA Knight in. With this, I could potentially see LA Knight interfering as well. I think if things blow up between the Usos, you could see LA Knight come out as well. However, I'm leaning more towards the fact that I think he doesn't come out. I think we've got enough storytelling, enough horsepower within this matchup to tell a solid story. I'll jump straight to who I think is going to win the match, and I'll sort of rewind and explain how we get there. So who I think is actually going to win the match is going to be the Bron Brons, simply because the Vision has not been booked great. I'll be honest with you guys, there's something missing with the Vision. I know it wasn't the inclusion of Becky Lynch, it really wasn't. Sorry to be negative there, it's just not. But there was something really missing. I still can't put my finger on it. I feel like Paul Heyman is kind of out of place in this group. He doesn't feel as impactful. He doesn't feel as emphatic in this as he was in the Bloodline, as he was when he was with Brock Lesnar, or even with CM Punk back in the early 2010s. Like, something feels off. I don't know if it's a lack of synergy, but if you take Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, of course, he's got his path. And I think his booking's been fairly decent within the Vision. Bronson Reed's booking's been up and down. He's had his ups, feuding with Roman Reigns and the whole Shula Fowler thing, tribal thief. It's worked. It's cheesy, it's cringy, but it's worked. It's given him a sort of way to stand out and be unique. However, I don't know what it is. I feel like he was just more of a threat when he was just on his own. When he would come out and he would come out in his long jacket and he would just tsunami like these guys randomly back and forth like 4 or 5 times. He did it to Seth Rollins. He had these as a standalone, he just felt more it. I don't know what it is. I know I'm perhaps nitpicking here, but there's something there. Seth Rollins, of course, is the head of the faction, and I know he's doing some of his best work. Like the Ruse of the Century was absolutely fantastic, but again, there just feels like a disconnect with everyone. And bringing in Becky Lynch, I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, to be honest. I think the whole program with AJ Lee, that makes sense. Like the couple's going at it, but like on a grander scheme of things, the Vision right now, there's something that's not clicking and I don't know what it is. So having said that, and having said the fact that the Bron Brons have lost a lot, I think this also has a hand to play in what I'm mentioning. How I'm mentioning that the Vision doesn't seem as effective as they should be. They don't seem as synergistic as they would perhaps like to be portrayed on television. Some of that probably comes down to how we can't take, Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker seriously. We can take them seriously in terms of a beatdown. Like they'll come out of Raw and they will put someone through the barricade. They will snatch their sneakers. Yeah, that's all cool, but it comes down to matches. I mean, the boys keep losing, and then they essentially expect us to sit there and be like, they're a threat. It's like they did this with the early enactment of the Wyatts. Do you remember when they kept losing and Bray Wyatt kept losing? And it's like, dude. Like, we're meant to look at these guys as a threat. We're meant to look at the leader, Bray Wyatt, as a threat. If he's going to be losing and his cronies are going to be losing, it's like we can't really take them seriously. It's just how wrestling is. So I think the best thing to do here is let the Bron Brons go over, get them a victory over, arguably one of the best tag teams ever. And on the other side of things, how we get there is going to be through the breakdown of communication. I don't think Jey Uso turns on Jimmy Uso here or vice versa. I think it's got a lot more steam left in the tank. We can continue to build this and marinate this. This is one of the rare times where you can say, okay, let Papa H continue to cook and marinate. Don't pull the plug on it yet. Unlike with what I said to do with maybe the Karrion Kross situation, the LA Knight situation, the Stephanie Vaquer becoming champion early in the night. Those are all times where the iron is hot. Again, I'm going to butcher it. Just strike it. With this situation, you've got something, and I think Jey Uso has been superb over the last couple of weeks. It's like we've gone back to the OG Bloodline version of him, where he just felt super comfortable, a lot more believable as well. I know he's wearing black, and that always has this whole NWA heelish sort of vibe to it. I'm sure that's playing a factor, but his sort of demeanor is so serious, it's so much more centered, and he just feels more comfortable. Way more comfortable as opposed to when he was a world champion on his own and he's wearing fruity colors and stuff. You know. But I do think we take it up to the next level here in terms of the storytelling we got here. Of course, on Monday Night Raw, we had Jey Uso talk to somebody on the phone. The speculation is obviously pointing more likely towards Roman Reigns. Maybe he's trying to get advice from him or whatever. But I think it makes more sense if he's actually talking to someone off the likes of the Final Boss, who I know is sort of, me mentioning the words Final Boss, The Rock in WWE is almost blasphemous. But I think, especially with Saudi Arabia coming up in a couple of years, and you know, Rock likes to sort of fool us fans in that sense, you know, saying, yeah, I'm focusing more on my career right now, I'm slimming down, I'm going to focus on more substance roles. The Rock's a smart man. He was obviously very much in tune with social media. He's going to want to try and get us to feel like he's not part of what's going on right now. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Jey Uso is like, you know what, he's so in his head narcissistic, he's like, forget Roman Reigns, I'm going to bypass him. I'm going to go to the Final Boss and get advice from him. Maybe there's something brewing in there, because one thing that the WWE and Triple H recently expressed, can't remember the outlet that mentioned it, it might have been Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful Select, it may have been him, don't quote me on that. It was something along the lines of the WWE realizing that the Bloodline storyline was like the Avengers Endgame, and they shouldn't have ended it as soon as they ended it. They should have kept it running. Now, they've got elements of it still bleeding in and around. You've got the MFTs kind of doing their thing on SmackDown, kind of. You've got Roman Reigns and Jey Uso still kind of, you know, buddies, and Jimmy Uso. So you can always kind of fall back on it. You know, sort of seeing the forest as opposed to the trees, and probably butchering that as well. There's perhaps something bigger brewing here, and it's going to lead to maybe next year's WrestleMania. And that could, again, include the Final Boss in some ways. All in all, this ends on a cliffhanger. I think, you know, a sort of anticlimactic situation where we're just left with, okay, we want more. And there seems to be some sort of breakdown between the Usos, and of course that's when the Bruns, I hate calling them that, by the way, Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker just capitalize on them too. Next up, we've got the mixed tag team match, which has been getting plenty of time on Monday Night Raw and also Friday Night SmackDown, actually. And what a build we've had for this mixed tag team match between Seth Rollins and his wife, Becky Lynch, the Intercontinental Champion, and of course Seth Rollins, that I mentioned, the World Heavyweight Champion, going head-to-head with CM Punk and AJ Lee. And what a build they've had, man. Like, I've really enjoyed this AJ Lee return. Like, better than what I thought it would be. And you know, when they're standing, AJ Lee and CM Punk are standing across off of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. And I honestly, I do love them both. I mean, I definitely love Seth Rollins more than I love Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch can, I know she's been accused of it, but she can be cringy. And I do find her cringy. I'm always going to be truthful with you guys. I find her to be just a bit trying too hard in that sense. And when her and her husband were standing across from CM Punk and AJ Lee during these promos, it just, yes, of course, CM Punk and AJ Lee are the baby faces, so naturally we're going to want to gravitate towards them more. And they're both, you know, in their own respective ways, have been away from the WWE close to a decade. However, having still said that, the character of Seth Rollins, and I know he's sort of made himself stand out with his sort of Joker sort of personality, whatever he's doing. Some people don't like it, some people love it. I really like it. I really enjoy what Seth Rollins has done over the last couple of years with this whole, you know, crazy dressing, laughing dude. It definitely gave him something unique. It gave him a personality, because honestly, at 2019, Seth Rollins was like blander than vanilla ice cream. Like, the dude was just like, yeah. I mean, amazing in the ring. Decent on the microphone as well. But just the character was like so dead. So come, you know, the last couple of years and where he's at right now, I'm digging it. But honestly, when he stands in front of CM Punk, it's like day and night, man. Like maybe it's the promo. Like, Seth Rollins can cut a good promo, of course he can. But it's just hard to get behind him in terms of the believability factor. Similar to his wife. I mean, I think his wife is just, Becky Lynch is just even further. Like, and it doesn't feel authentic. Whereas, if you look at AJ Lee, I know she's just been back on our screen as of, you know, the last couple of weeks. Maybe it's the honeymoon phase or the infatuation phase that I'm going through or will going through. But AJ Lee's character is very, if you really think about it, she's very sarcastic, she's very emotive, expressive, you know, very like sort of whimsy in that sort of sense, and even her emotions very fluid, her sort of ring walk and everything it's very character based as opposed to just her being her. Again, she's maybe like that in reality, but she's definitely turned it up like 10 notches. It still feels more authentic than what Becky Lynch does. Seth Rollins is obviously not that far on that spectrum. He's definitely a lot more sort of at least bearable and enjoyable on my TV screen when he's cutting promos. When you compare him to CM Punk, who of course I know it's not fair, CM Punk is one of those rare anomalies where ever since his early days on the microphone, in commentary, as he dropped his promos, in the ring, like he's super believable. In the ring he's alright, but he's super believable on the mic when he's delivering that promo. And I just felt like the two couples going at that point, I was like, damn. Like, here on the other side, we've got Becky Lynch, the IC champion, one of the biggest female superstars ever, arguably the biggest. Sportskeeda, I'm sure they say that. Is it Sportskeeda? I don't know. Sports Illustrated. And Seth Rollins, who's of course is the cornerstone of the WWE. But there's a massive discrepancy between the couples, and I don't know what it is. Again, it bleeds into the Vision as well. I wasn't too stoked when I saw Becky Lynch become the next member for the Vision. So we'll see what we do with the Vision long term, but my winners here are going to go with CM Punk and AJ Lee. Just makes sense because AJ Lee's obviously returned. I know the typical formula here, at least on paper, in theory, is to have whoever returns pick up the victory during their matchup. However, we've had times in the WWE where a superstar of such magnitude of the likes of AJ Lee has returned and has taken a loss in their first match. Brock Lesnar, was it 2012 Extreme Rules? Clear example. Honestly, every one of their mother thought he is going to decimate. Well, he did decimate John Cena, but he lost in the end. Super Cena came back and AA'd him, I believe, on the steel steps. Got the 1, 2, 3, and we're like, what the hell? Like, that was strange. So you can't always say there's a guarantee that a superstar is going to return and they're going to win. We've had times in the past where high caliber superstars have actually lost. But with this, CM Punk being involved as well, and Seth Rollins being the champion, and Becky Lynch being the champion, they really have enough credibility to their current status in the WWE. Whereas I think the Punkers, Mr. and Mrs. Punk, can benefit better from a victory, and we can ride this momentum wave that we've had with AJ Lee ever since she stepped foot, well, actually ever since she waddled and, what does she do, man? Is that hop? Whatever she does, that weird satanic Annabelle conjuring sort of walk she does to the ring. Next up is the WWE Championship matchup between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. Now, of course, with this, we haven't had much of a build. Drew McIntyre has done always a tremendous job where he's sort of left to be the only person to build the feud. We saw that with CM Punk last year. Although with CM Punk, despite him being injured, he still showed up in whatever capacity he could last year. So they still were able to go ahead and sort of have a back and forth. But there were many weeks where it was just Drew McIntyre building the story. And although it's not to the level of that CM Punk feud, I still think Drew McIntyre's done a fairly decent job. I mean, the best he can do whilst Cody Rhodes is out filming Street Fighter. Again, this feud hasn't had the love and the TLC that it deserves, in my opinion. And especially if they're building this feud to be like a catapult to something bigger in the form of Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. It's a bit of a shame because it's like Drew McIntyre does deserve his flowers in this sense. And if it's not going to be the payoff that most of us want, and you know, Drew McIntyre of course wants, then it's a bit like, are we really using Drew McIntyre to the best of his abilities right now? I'm going to keep it simple. I think it's quite predictable. I don't see Drew McIntyre winning this. Sadly, I would love to see him win Not the World Heavyweight Championship, the actual WWE Championship again. He's definitely earned it. You know, the man deserves his flowers. I think they're going to book him very strong during the match, but he's not going to ultimately get the win. I think it may go down a path where you may be seeing Drew McIntyre once again trying to claymore the holy shit out of Cody Rhodes' blonde head through the commentator table. But that's when we hear the voices. We hear the voices off of that 6'5", 300-pound behemoth of a man who comes out and he stops Drew McIntyre. And I think this program will continue to cultivate where eventually the focus will start to move towards Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. They'll start having ego clashes and stuff, and hopefully we do it properly and one of them is heel. I don't care who it is. I think it's still too early to turn Cody Rhodes heel. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. So am I. It's going to be legendary. But the dude is a white meat babyface, like to the likes that we've never experienced before. I mean, maybe Austin, Hogan, probably Hogan, because Stone Cold was still anti-hero. You know, he had that sort of vibe to him. John Cena was obviously very similar to Cody Rhodes in that sense, but he got 50% or maybe 60-70% of the time booed. Roman Reigns, when he was babyface, also a failed experiment like John Cena, probably worse. But Cody Rhodes, in the current climate, it's rare to see a white meat babyface. We want to do the right thing, and it works. The crowd loves him. We love him as a babyface. We're going to love him as a heel too. But milk him for what he is right now. Literally milk it out as long as we can. I think we've got at least another year. At least another year of riding out the wave with, you know, let's say the final boss does come back next year. Let's say we do another program with Roman Reigns. I know we've seen it a lot, but the trilogy, there's still so much to do there. Although, if it comes down to Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes on a side tangent, I would like it to be reversed. I would like Cody Rhodes for that feud to be heel, actually, and Roman Reigns to be babyface. So scratch what I said with that feud, but Cody Rhodes still has a lot in the tank left in terms of his babyface run, so milk it. And even if that means long-term turning Randy Orton heel, I mean, dude, imagine that monster, that behemoth of a man turning heel. Like that, I mean, I think he'll give his 09 Randy Orton a run for his money. And I know that's blasphemous because wrestling fans have an obsession with Randy Orton from 09. I understand, but I think we can do more now. So to sum up, Cody Rhodes walks out as the champion just the way he walked into the event as WWE champion. And lastly, the main event. It's not the WWE title match that I just mentioned. It's John Cena versus Brock Lesnar, a match that we've seen many a times, but I'll be honest with you. It's one of those matches where every time it's on my TV, I enjoy it. Whether it was the early sort of ones back in 2002, 03, the Ruthless Aggression era before John Cena really became the man, they were still very enjoyable, very aggressive, hard-hitting. And then when Lesnar returns in 2012, the bouts they had were just... The Extreme Rules match is so underrated. The best memory for this match, personally, doesn't even involve John Cena in the match. It's Lesnar picking up a grown man, the referee, from his belt, lifting him up like he's a child. I was like... I mean, as a man, if you are picked up like that, like, pack it up, man. I think your time in this world has come to an abrupt end. Like, there's no point living after that. But my point is, every time Lesnar and Cena have a match, it's always enjoyable, and we always walk away from saying, damn, that was brutal, or damn, Cena got his ass kicked like 2014 SummerSlam. So as weird and controversial as it sounds, it's nice to see them two going at it in 2025 when no one thought it would happen. And I know a lot of people hate Brock Lesnar right now for, you know, some valid reasons and some reasons where I'm like, I don't know why you guys are hating him. Of course, if it's to do with the whole Janelle Grant lawsuit thing, which we don't have a clear insight on right now anyway, so it's probably best to hold your thoughts, hold your sort of opinions on it. But if anyone feels uncomfortable towards that, I can understand. But in terms of those that are saying, you know, we don't need Lesnar, it's like Lesnar just makes the product better. Like, even if it's just Suplex City, it's facts. Like, we can argue till the sun comes down. Like, there is no two ways about it. I know the product is super hot. It's been hot for a couple of years now. We're in this renaissance period, whatever. We're having a bit of a dip, but it's okay. We have ups and downs in WWE, especially around this period. But Brock Lesnar coming back not only for John Cena, but after this whole feud or this matchup, you've got Braun Breaker there. You've got Gunther there. Heck, I would like him to go one-on-one with Rusev. Oba Femi from NXT when he gets called up. Dude, like, the man is truly a anomaly. And anyone that says, oh yeah, you know, he's overrated, no he's not. No, he's not. I would honestly put Brock Lesnar up there as one of the best in-ring superstars ever. And I'm not saying grade this just off of his Suplex City era, like, you know, post 2014. I'm saying go before that. When he returned, and most importantly, back in 02 to 04, that man moved like there was butter under his feet. Like, it was scary, man. He was described by The Undertaker, and I quote, it's not me saying it, by the way, vanilla gorilla. And honestly, I get it. Like, the dude's like a white silverback. From a technical standpoint, from an athletic standpoint, from a selling standpoint, really, when Brock Lesnar wants to sell, he's up there to the likes of, believe it or not, Shawn Michaels, Dolph Ziggler. I'm talking about that level. Anyways, with the style of match itself, it's going to be pretty one-sided. We're going to have Brock Lesnar sort of dominate a lot of the matchup. It's going to be him sort of showing his presence, especially in the eyes of ESPN, who are already massive sports fans. So they're pretty much going to be accustomed to his legit sort of background and also his UFC stint as well. But seeing him now in the WWE going ahead with one of the most famous people on God's green earth in the name of John Cena is going to be a great way to push this whole partnership with ESPN. So Lesnar's going to do his thing. He's going to go to town on John Cena. In terms of the end of the match, I personally don't think this is going to be a one and done, first and foremost, because we're nearing the end of Cena's retirement. I think he's pretty much wrapped up now with Raw and SmackDown, I believe. It's just, he's got PLEs. I don't know how that works, because I'm sure this was like his final Raw and then he had his final SmackDown. So I don't know how he's going to be building up programs. So I know towards the end of this match, we're going to have to instantly do a build or a cliffhanger where the climax is going to be reached. Climax is going to be reached in the next pay-per-view. PLE, the next PLE. So having said that, I think this is not going to be black and white. I think this is going to be very grey. I'm going to say The Rock shows up. I know dude's lost like 60 pounds. I know he's very into his Hollywood career right now. I mean, he's finally done a movie of substance, as they say. He's not stuck in the jungle. He wants to do more in-depth roles and get out of his comfort zone. But one name, ESPN. A massive $1 million deal. Similar to what we saw on Netflix premiere back in January of this year. We had The Rock show up and I don't know what that boy was doing. He just drank a bit of tequila with Cody Rhodes. Apparently it was his boy. Yeah, he probably hung out with Mama Rhodes after that as well. But my point is, The Rock showed up. In whatever capacity, even if it was in a capacity we didn't like, he showed up. And I think as shameless as the WWE can be in terms of sometimes being lazy with their storytelling and not providing a conclusive end to them, I think over the last 7-8 months, the WWE and most importantly The Rock has heard the slander, he's heard the hate, the dismay, the displeasure of the WWE fans, of us all voicing, what the hell did you do? What the hell did you do with the Cody Rhodes feud? What the hell, most importantly, did you do with John Cena's heel turn with your boy Travis Scott? By the way, I actually liked Travis Scott before this. I actually enjoyed some of his music. I honestly don't like the guy anymore. Like, I think none of us do. Like, he's probably the worst example of a modern day celebrity where the bar is set so high by the likes of like Bad Bunny, Logan Paul, I mean even Jelly Roll, man. And Travis Scott just completely blew it. I genuinely think all the backlash has finally gotten to the ears of not only WWE management, but one of the board of directors, and that's The Rock himself. And I think here, as a wild card, The Rock comes out towards the end, after Cena has beaten Brock Lesnar. So I think Cena goes over. The reason why I think Cena goes over is this is technically his first, I know he's had the match with Logan Paul and stuff like that, but this is his really high stakes feud and high stakes matchup after he turned babyface, you know, post SummerSlam of this year with Cody Rhodes, where he lost the match and lost the WWE Championship. So I think this is a nice way to offset that. But Brock Lesnar doesn't go away into the sunset, because that would be a bit of a waste, to be honest. We bring back one of the baddest dudes in the world just to lose to John Cena. Like, I can understand we did that, even though I don't think it was the right decision in 2012 for Brock Lesnar to lose. But Brock Lesnar was still going to stick around, you know. He then took Triple H and broke his arm, broke Shawn Michaels' arm. Then he ended the streak of The Undertaker a couple of years after that. He decimated John Cena, you know, in a sort of revenge match. So I think Brock Lesnar's going to be around, and this feud's going to go out to a couple of matches. And now that I've even said it as well, I think the wild card option is the only option I'm going to go with. I did have another option I was going to go with, but I'm just like, screw it. Screw it. I think we get something that gets us scratching our head, something that gets us like, what the hell was that? I think we're sleeping on the magnitude of this PLE, Wrestlepalooza. I think they're going to really do it big. We've had discussions online, we've had talks and mentions of this ideally wanting to be to the level of, you know, the big four in the year. And what bigger way to do that than end it on a high note? And tell me why is this match main eventing over the likes of, you know, the WWE Championship match? Of course, I understand the build-up for that match, for the WWE Championship match, has been pretty much non-existent. And it's not necessarily Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, it's Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre. And unfortunately, Drew McIntyre has been a lot of the time a filler in many feuds, sadly. However, considering there's been a lack of build between Brock Lesnar and John Cena, a lack of promo between, I think we get a lot of our questions answered during the close of this match. And that brings in another component, such as the final boss, The Rock, who comes in and turns on John Cena after how John Cena basically reversed himself and went back to his factory settings. This leads to something bigger. And we know that The Rock said a lot of times, you know, I don't necessarily need to be in an in-ring capacity to be involved. So he's got a heavy gun. And there's no bigger heavy gun than the beast Brock Lesnar to do his dirty work for him. So I think The Rock shows up after John Cena just escapes Brock Lesnar and pulls out a last-minute victory. We continue the feud. And instead of having Travis Scott next to freaking The Rock, you've got someone the likes of Brock Lesnar. Anyways, that's my predictions for Wrestlepalooza. I know some of them are absolutely wild, but hey, I think this PLE is going to be a lot more wild than we think it is. I think we're sleeping on the magnitude of it. So I'm actually looking forward to it. It seems like a really small card, but that is honestly sometimes welcome. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the show, and I'll be making a review video shortly after the PLE. So keep it locked in on the channel, and I'll see you guys then. Peace.